Okay, didn't really mean to show that on screen there. Let me make sure that I didn't show anything sensitive. No, not really. Gave some random shoutouts um, to a couple of content creators. So, okay. But that's about it. Okay. I made a mistake of uh, showing off the notepad there. Let's see. Let me get the Pega screen up and running there. There we go. All right. Welcome everybody to another 2 p.m. PST Twitch stream. I'm your host, Strange Road Jim. And today we got ourselves quite a bit of a lineup here. We have um, um, we got Pega to get through, which I haven't received anything new on the side of Pega itself, from the Pega company itself, nor from my friend. Uh, you know, obviously, um, I need to kind of do a correction from the last Pega video that I did. And I need to obviously address that. Um, and um, and I'm quite certain that my other friend is quite busy, so um, you know, I can't, I don't necessarily want to be like, oh, I gotta, you know, sh she is taking her own time to help me out on the occasions that she can. So, I have to respect that. So, um, for obvious reasons. Mm. Um, it's like, you know, what am I gonna say? Oh my God, how dare she try to help me out, huh? No. um, that's, anyone that thinks that way is like, what? So, so I don't want to have that come across that way. Just making sure, just putting that out there. Just making sure. Okay, so, um, so we're gonna be working on Pega today. We got some videos to upload. Um, Maybe I can try to get in some editing because I haven't done that much, and I really should. Be so much easier if I had someone to kind of be there and help me out with it. But I mean, um, at the same time, uh, uh, it's difficult for even me to be motivated for it. Um, so it's hard for me to expect someone else to be motivated for me, if you understand. Um, so, um, we'll see what we can do. Maybe if I can get a couple videos released, then I can switch on over to um, doing some editing. So, and then of course we got Warframe later on tonight. So, a lot of stuff to consider. So, um, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into the Pega portion of this. Now, first thing that I want to address is that, um, I am not um, I'm not someone that is endorsed by Pega at all. I don't work for Pega. So don't consider me as someone that, has, all the knowledge of Pega. I'm personally trying to get my own certification in the system architect. Okay. I forgot to log in. 1 second. Um, I'm gonna take care of that real quick. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so I'm currently working on getting, moving towards the system architect certification, and then maybe even trying out the business architect as well. Seeing that, they have both of the two missions here. The only difference is the fact that the business architect only has these two modules here that are separate from the system architect. Okay, system architect does not have these two modules that it's referring to here. So when we are done with these two missions, we'll finish off these two modules because they should be relatively easy to get through. So anybody that's watching this series, on my YouTube channel, they'll understand like, hey, here's everything that has been covered for the business architect section. So, you can take that and then you can go and try to do the certification yourself. I would recommend, more time to study yourself, take the challenges more, take more quizzes, take more, do more tests so that you feel comfortable when you do take the business architect certification. Okay. Um, Now, bear in mind, I am not an authorized training partner. I am not an instructor. This is not an instructor-led training, so do not consider this either of those. Okay. I am just working through the system architect, myself. I'm recording them so that if I ever have any kind of questions that I can't really answer myself, I'm not really understanding the material. I hope that someone that has a strong understanding of Pega, a trainer, someone that works at Pega itself, they can look through my videos and they go, okay, here are the issues that you're having, with these particular sections. So you'll need to, um, um, here's how to answer the questions that you had at the time. Um, because sometimes the way they did these modules and like felt like they probably could have done more or changed it around to allow for a little bit better understanding. But then again, um, that's my specific viewpoint. Someone might look at the mission and find that it's perfectly reasonable and quite understandable. Great. That if it works for you, fantastic. So far, I've had some issues with some of the modules. All right. Now, one of the things that I need to address because um, it um, um, I was still getting some problems with one of the I was having some difficulties with adding the case type duplicate search. Um, last time around. Um, and well, um, so I found out where my problem lied on it, and well, I sent I sent a suggestion to those in charge of Pega, in the hopes that maybe they can change it up a little bit, and that has to do with this particular section here, the weighted section. Okay, so as you can see here, state is equal to service address dot state. Okay. Um, one of the problems that I had with this was the fact that they had two different sections um, that had city, state, and street. And unfortunately, I selected one that um, was more, um, it was like service confidence or something like that, dot city, but it doesn't show here as that. I selected the first one here. I didn't select the service address. I selected something else. Now, unfortunately, the um, when I'm showing you this windowed screen right at this moment in time, it's not showing it's not showing everything. Um, so when I looked back at my videos, I could see that the pop-up windows were not being shown at all. And so obviously, um, you wouldn't be able to, see my error when I was doing the videos. So there would be no way for you to. I mean, I could say, oh yeah, I selected the options perfectly fine. You should be, everything should be perfectly fine. You should be able to see everything. But no, um, I guess I didn't select the right options because, well, um, we had some we had some issues with that. So, what I'm gonna do is um, I'm gonna kind of change up the um, I'm gonna kind of change up the screen here. So I'm gonna try to show, you know, um, as much of the screen as I possibly can, um, so that you can, and instead of showing the windowed, I will show like my full screen. So you should be able to see everything. Okay. So, um, so let me display capture Pega full screen. Okay. So there we are. All right. So, um, we're now in should be now in full screen. I personally can't see the chat right at this moment in time. I only have my one monitor here, so I can't see anything. So if you have any comments or anything along those lines, there's not much I can really do about that. Um, but let me try to remember like the step by steps. Well, I mean, I could switch between the two, but I mean, I've done this a couple times already, so I kind of remember, um, all the necessary steps to check for a duplicate case. So, But with this, it should show, I should be able to show the pop-up windows as well. I would hope so. We'll see. Okay. I need to have the duplicate cases in there. So now you probably weren't seeing, these pop-ups here in any of my previous steps. So, and I apologize for that. Um, but now that we have this taken care of, we should be able to, you should be able to kind of see everything that I'm kind of doing right at this moment in time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to weighted condition here that I can kind of show where the error is. Okay, so, before when I selected the weighted condition, my videos probably weren't showing this particular pop-up. Or if they were, it wasn't showing the drop down here. Now I'm assuming that you're seeing it right now. Here, hold on. I can't tell. Uh, oh gosh. I'm blocking my window right at this moment in time, so. Alright, so yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure that you all can kind of see this, so let's go ahead and go back here. Um, so, um, you weren't able to see the drop down before, um, so when I, was like 25, you guys can see that, but when I was going through here, um, I saw, city, state, and street under selected provider here, right? And you had the service, you had the service address, service provider, vehicle information. Unfortunately, service provider, service address, and selected provider, you know, all have the um, same values, contained within them, for the most part. So, um, so my mistake was that, you know, the, the steps here, for the weighted condition, they wanted you to do the service address, right? Well, my mistake during all this was scrolling all the way down here to service provider and picking that. Now here's the thing. When you do, when you do this portion of it, clicking another field and then, you know, selecting the service address, um, obviously, uh, the selected provider or the service provider isn't here. Um, first off, so it was like, okay, you have the selected provider, but you have the service address. So I'm like, okay, you know, we'll we'll select that, click on submit, and now you can see state is equal to service address state, right? So when I hit OK, it shows up over here on the side as state is equal to service address state. However, which is perfectly fine. It's the same kind of value here. However, the problem is that this first state here wasn't service address. It was service provider. So when I was doing this, I picked the wrong state. So when I tried to compare the two, it wasn't able to, get the exact same comparison. Okay, or it was basically saying, hey, this is a false value. It wasn't a true value. It's not true because service provider state might not necessarily equal the service address state. So, um, I had to make sure that I had select the service address for the value there. Now, I did mention to them after they pointed out the fact that I made that mistake, and I've already confirmed that that because I had selected the wrong one, I wasn't getting the duplicate case. So, um, but I mentioned to them that maybe it'd be great, or in our best interest if instead of just having state here, you put in the container, much like how you did in the second version here, dot service address dot state. Put it up here in the first portion of the statement. Have service address dot state is equal to service address dot state. Have it, you know, have the two values the same there because otherwise I don't know. You know, I could be selecting um, the selected provider state, and I wouldn't know. There's no difference here to show which state I've selected for that first value. Now, if I had gone to the second value, and selected, one of the other states instead of service address, like the selected provider, for example, it would have shown, you know, it would have shown here. So that's something that I can clearly see is not the same as here. I'm more of a visual, so um, but I mean, I made the mistake of not selecting the service address at the very beginning. So that's where I was wrong in the first portion of this particular um, challenge. So, but I was able to, with the help of the representative at Pega, I was able to see the error that I selected. Another thing that they probably could have done was like maybe put in a little code check here saying you did not select service address, or something along those lines. That probably would have been good um, a good check, to have. Just saying, you know, or if it encounters an error, basically check, hey, did you select service address or did you select something else? You know, um, because I don't remember the error stating the problem with the problem with that. So, okay. Um, okay, so I'm going to switch it back to not widescreen here. There we go. Or not full screen, I should say. So I can actually see chat now. So, so if anybody wants to chat with me, they can. So, okay, so we last left off on completing pausing and resuming case processing. So the next one will be the pausing and resuming case processing challenge. So let's go ahead and start initialize the Pega instance for that challenge. And I'm going to close that down. And we'll go ahead and get started on this. Now, like I've mentioned in the past, I hardly ever use the challenge walkthrough. I mean, unless there's some kind of issue that I'm having with the steps. Um, I feel like I'm doing the steps, properly, or I'm, trying to be meticulous in the steps, but I'm still getting like different outcomes. Then I'll use the challenge walkthrough. But I hardly ever use it, so um, but for this one, the scenario is Inscorp is launching a roadside assistance service as a coverage option for automobile insurance policies. During the service stage, the customer selects a service provider, and a service child case is created to collect information from the service provider. To process the assistance request case and the service case correctly, enforce a dependency to pause and resume case processing on the assistance request case when the service case meets the conditions that you define. Um, your practice environment may support the completion of multiple challenges. As a result, the configuration shown in the challenge walkthrough may not match your environment exactly. So, bear that in mind. Okay. Um, yep, there we go. Okay. Log on in. So, create a wait automation. So, in the navigation pane, click Case Types Assistance Request to open the Assistance Request case type. In the Create Service Case process, click Step, More, Automations, Wait, and select. So, we have to go to this particular process here. And then we're going to have to put in the wait automations in. So, hopefully I explained the last that previous challenge, why I was getting it wrong. I showed enough to for you to understand, where I was getting it wrong and how others might have, similar issues with it. So that's another thing that um, you should probably do in terms of um, variable names. Okay. I mean, sure, you can do city, state, so on and so forth, but maybe if you have it, like specific for like, hey, this is the service provider state, then maybe put in um, like SP state or something along those lines. Make it a little bit different so that um, it's a little bit more readable upon when you're looking at it from a perspective of like, hey, you have this state is equal to that state, and then how are you supposed to know, right? So sometimes it probably be in your best interest to make sure that you have the naming conventions slightly different for what state you're trying to go for. Now it could be that the state could be something that is like brought in like like it has an address um, data object or something like that. So it's using the same kind of, city, state, so on and so forth, because it's the same data object used in both cases, right? So you might not necessarily, um, it might not necessarily be any kind of difference there, but that's why I was saying, like, try to use the, um, change up the code so that you can kind of see the very beginning, like, what data object you're referencing. So lots of load times. We're going to assistance request. And then in the create request, we're going to be adding another step here. So in the create service case process, click step, more automations and wait. So in the create request, we're going to do a form step. No, that's not correct there. Oh, okay, and the create service case process. Okay, they really should reference the stage. So here, in that create service case process, we're clicking step. More automations. Now, you're probably not seeing this particular, maybe you're not seeing this part. I don't know. If you are, great. If not, then yeah. Make sure that you select the proper options in your specific window. Follow these, exactly here. So Okay, so now in the step, enter wait for service completion. In the step properties pane on the right, the context pane, in the wait for case type list, select service to set a dependency on the service case. So, wait, hold on. In the wait for, select service. There you go. Set up dependency on the service case. In this challenge, the assistance request case type creates a single service child case, and there is no difference between any and all options. So, because it only creates one of them, we don't necessarily need to worry about, any or all. Now, if it creates two, if it creates two service case types, then, for some reason, okay, you set it up to handle two case types, then the any and all comes into play. If it's any, that means like, hey, if one gets completed, then finish off this case lifecycle. If it's all, though, you have to wait for like the two service cases to finish before it moves on. So just a little bit of clarification as to what any and all is referring to. So click to be resolved to pause the system request case until the service case is resolved. So to be resolved instead of the to reach status. So we're currently on the to reach status right now, so we need to set it to be resolved. The users can choose to continue process. Checkbox is selected by default. In the upper right, click Save to complete the assistance request workflow. So we're all done there, so click Save, and we are good to go on this one. Now, they didn't mention anything about the wait type, so one would have to make the assumption that they want you to leave that, on the default case dependency. One would think. One would hope. Saying that, that's what they are including in their visuals right here, right? But they didn't mention anything about, the wait type. So, all right, so we're confirming our work. So in the upper right, click Save and Run to run a new instance of the assistance request case type. Advance the case to enter customer information assignment. Okay, so we're selecting H. Thomas, huh? All right. So okay. So we're selecting H. Thomas. Now, let's see. Advance the case to the selected service provider assignment. Click Submit to display the selected service assignment. Make note of the case ID. So we're going to want to put in the right city and state because, well, We've had some issues with that in the past with this, with this particular sys's request. So, let's not make the same mistake. Okay. Now let's see. Yeah, select service provider assignment. Okay. Yeah, we're there. So click submit to display the select services assignment. Make note of the case ID. So we're at A1 here. And now we're at S1 here. So in the navigation menu of the user portal, click home. In the My Work List section, click Go to see the most recent created service case. So we're going to go to the home, and you can see here in the Work List section, click Go to see the most. Oh, okay. Check disconnected. Okay, we successfully reconnected. Okay. Hopefully that didn't. Hopefully I'm not having some issues in connection. I hope. All right. Click Go to see the most recent created service case. As you can see here in my work list, service task in S1, so on and so forth. Um, so we're just gonna click on Go there. Click the down arrow next to the service case ID to see the parent case ID, which is the A1 assistance request. Click the assistance request to open the parent case. Verify that the parent case to-do section includes wait for service completion and select services. So we select that. Wait for service completion and select services. Right. On the right of select services, click Go. Let's see. Click Submit to complete the assignment. Click No, advance the case, and verify that the status of the parent case is resolved completed. So and resolved completed. And we just verify the challenge, and it should be perfectly fine. No worries whatsoever. Now, they probably could have done a little bit more checks, I would imagine, in there. But then again, we didn't change much. I mean, we didn't add too much in the detailed tasks here, so I can also see them saying, they did fine. So, okay, now, we didn't have any issues with that particular challenge. So tomorrow we'll be continuing the validating data against business logic, both the module and the challenge, most likely. We'll see. Um, and then we'll continue on from there. We got a couple of modules here that doesn't have any kind of um, challenges that are associated with them. So that's going to be a little interesting there. Um, we also have um, some additional challenges here that doesn't have any associated modules. So that's also interesting. Normally you see like module, and here's a challenge that, you know, complements it kind of thing. They're talking about um, they're talking about the topic, they explain the topic, and then you have a challenge that kind of goes along with it. So, mm. But we are getting closer and closer to the very end. The mission test, the mission exercise, and those obviously will require a little bit more time from us to handle it, but that's where we're going to go ahead and call it for today. I'm not going to be able to go through the next module in the 10 minutes that I got remaining, so we're going to go ahead and close it down there. Um, Now I'm going to go and take a quick break myself. I need to use the restroom. Not that it really matters to you guys that are watching on YouTube right now, but I mean, if you're here on the stream, then you guys got to know, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.